The hidden financial secret behind the Industrial Revolution. Before steam, before factories, before the skies of England turned black with smoke, the world ran on muscle, land, and gold. Wealth was something you could touch, measured in metal, soil, and ships. But in the late 17th century, something invisible began to rise. Europe was a continent of ambition and exhaustion. Monarchs fought endless wars. Empires expanded, but their treasuries emptied. The problem was simple. There was not enough gold to fuel expansion. Without money, dreams of power began to fade. Then, in 1694, the impossible happened. The Bank of England was born, not as a vault of gold, but as a factory of promises. For the first time, a government could fund itself not with treasure, but with trust. Investors lent money to the crown, and in return, the bank issued paper notes, backed not by gold, but by debt. It was the quiet birth of a revolution that would outlive kings and empires. Wealth could now be created with ink, not iron. In the coffee houses of London, a new kind of marketplace emerged, the stock exchange. There, traders sold pieces of the future, shares in ships, mines, and trade routes. Every sheet of paper represented risk and the possibility of fortune. Capitalism was awakening. By the mid-18th century, machines began to roar across England. Steam engines, textile mills, and railways were transforming the landscape. But behind every invention was a network of banks, investors, and credit. The Industrial Revolution was not powered by coal. It was powered by confidence. Inventors like James Watt had ideas, but not the money to realize them. Financiers like Matthew Boulton provided the capital, and in return, they shared the profits. It was the birth of venture capital, a partnership between creativity and credit. Soon, debt became the foundation of progress. Every factory, every railroad, every shipyard built not from savings, but from borrowed money. Workers unknowingly fueled the system by depositing their wages in banks, which in turn lent that same money to industrialists. The people financed their own labor. By the 1800s, Britain had become the banker of the world. The empire no longer conquered only with armies, but with loans. It lent money to other nations, financed wars, and profited from global interest. It was an empire of paper, invisible but unstoppable. But credit is a double-edged sword. The same trust that builds nations can also destroy them. In 1825, the first great global financial crash struck. Speculation had gone too far. Banks failed, factories closed, and panic spread. Yet from the ashes, a new understanding was born, that when credit drives the world must never stop borrowing. As the century progressed, Britain's industrial and financial systems became one. The factories of Manchester depended on the banks of London. The mines of Wales borrowed from financiers in the city. Money moved faster than ships, faster than trains. It became a force of nature. The Industrial Revolution was often painted as a story of invention, but its true secret was control, the ability to turn promises into power. The British Empire's might came not only from steel and steam, but from its financial intelligence. The wars, the colonies, the trade routes, all financed by debt, all sustained by faith. And as the empire expanded, inequality grew. Children worked in factories built by investors who never saw them. A few controlled the flow of credit, while millions depended on it. Behind the smoke and progress stood a quiet truth. Money had replaced kings. By the late 19th century, the system had spread across the globe. France, the United States, and Germany all adopted the British model, financing the future with borrowed capital. The world had entered a new era where wealth could be printed from belief. This was the real legacy of the Industrial Revolution. Not steam or steel, but the invention of modern finance. A system built on trust, speculation, and leverage. The Bank of England had shown the world that empires could be built without conquest, that debt itself could rule. The Industrial Revolution did not just transform machines, It transformed humanity's relationship with value. Money was no longer a thing. It was an idea, and ideas could multiply infinitely. From that moment on, the fate of nations would no longer be decided on the battlefield, but in the markets, by those who understood how to turn promises into power. The secret behind the Industrial Revolution was not invention, nor innovation, nor empire. It was debt, invisible, intangible, yet more powerful than any army. And as history continues to unfold, that same invisible engine still drives the modern world. Because once humanity learned to create wealth from nothing, it didn't just change the economy, it changed civilization itself.